So the plan for this morning is we're going to hear from Abby and Amy about the 66 project, which Eden Arts have been running for quite some time now. I know that there was a really fascinating sounding visit to Liverpool and Manchester, I think, I can't remember, last week, a couple of weekends ago. So Abby, who works for Eden Arts, and Amy, who goes under the pseudonym of Cumbria Arts and Culture Network, who was on that trip, are just going to reflect on what that's all about, and we'll hear all about that. Then we've got Rachel Vlodachak. Vlodachak. That's the first time I've ever said that word.
So it is Vlodachek. Well done. That's the Polish way of pronouncing it. But the Barovians over the years have changed it to Lodazak. So that's how
so we just ignore the W at the start, do we?
We ignore the Polish view and we take the Baro version, which is Lodazak, yeah.
Okay, lovely. Well, it's very nice to have you with us, Rachel. Rachel works with BAE Systems for her day job, but she's on secondment to the Cumbria LEP, the local enterprise partnership. And there's a piece of work that has sort of been reignited, I suspect, by Rachel, to see what we can do about recruitment and retention of people in Cumbria. So we're going to hear a bit more about that and how you may have a role to play in that, should you wish to have that role. So we're going to hear from Rachel after Abby and Amy. And then last but not least, Katie and Janet, who work for Helping Hands, which is the big pan-county enhancing volunteering opportunities project in Cumbria. About 40 organisations involved in that across the county. Are going to give us an update, because I think it's about halfway through that now. And so how's it going? You know, what are the trials and tribulations? Where are the successes? What are the measures of success? It'll be fascinating to see how that is progressing. I'm hearing good things about it. So I'm looking forward to seeing and hearing some stuff about that as well. So that is the plan. And if we can get through all of that, we'll finish at 10:30 and we'll have had hopefully a decent morning. So without further ado, and I've got one or two presentations, and I've changed, those of you that are familiar with this call, I've had some Zoom issues with sharing PowerPoints to big groups like this in past weeks. I've pressed some buttons, so fingers crossed it's going to work, but Amy is backed up in case stuff doesn't work, but fingers crossed it should all be fine. Let's, first of all, I'm going to cross to Amy to introduce this, because we're going to talk about the 66 project from Eden Arts. So Amy and Abby, the floor is yours for about 15 minutes.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you, Tom.
Lovely.
So, yeah, basically, I went on a trip which was organised by Eden Arts. That would have been last Wednesday and Thursday, called the Connectors Trip. And it was bringing people together from all across the A66, our wonderful road up here that's joining the northeast and the northwest. And it brought us all together to go down for a cultural trip to Liverpool and Manchester, which was jam-packed with culture, I have to say, and I'm still kind of turning all that over in my head. So I would have talked about that on this call anyway, but I just thought it would be really nice to have Abby here from Eden Arts, just to give people a bit of an overview of the 66 project, because a lot of people may not have heard of it. It's really interesting to be joining up the northeast, the northwest in kind of a bit more of a conscious way. So Abby, I'll let you explain a bit more about it. And I've got the pictures here, just shout up if you want me to share them.
Okay, lovely, thank you. Well, it's a pleasure to be here finally. And sorry, it's been such a long time meeting you all. So I'm Abby, I'm a creative producer at Eden Arts with direct responsibility for the 66 project. So Eden Arts, they produced the 66 after 2 years of extensive research, and we have got a vision document which I'll share with you so that you can all take a direct look at it. And as Amy says, it roughly is defined by the route of the 66, which is spanning from Teesside at one side on the north coast to the west coast of Cumbria. But what we did identify was that there are actually similarities between Whitehaven and Workington and Redcar and Hartlepool, for example. And across the sphere of the 66, the region encompasses 10 regional councils. So we're working not only with the Arts Council, but with 10 regional councils across there. The aim or manifesto of the 66 is to address factors such as the super aging population. It's not just about retaining young people. And by the way, when we say young people, we're talking under 40s these days. So it's about giving them a reason to want to stay. And it's about identifying and knowing that successful places have to have a balanced demographic. We so often separate society out into categories, but actually we're all living together alongside each other. So in order to be a more livable place, we have to have a better and broader cultural offer. We've identified this through our research. Culture-wise, there is less production here. So there are fewer new theatre and dance companies, fewer studio schemes, cultural dance companies, etc. And so cultural initiatives have become one of the main agents of change for society. There can be a sense that this region is overlooked, and that the money and new initiatives are felt to go to other places, like Newcastle, Gateshead, Manchester, etc. But on the positive side, there are opportunities and there's great landscape and seascape, but the issue of livability prevails. So we aim to be greener and more sustainable, to be progressive and digital through the 66 programme. And to this end, we began the 66 last May with a large-scale ambitious project of bringing a full-scale whale to Redcar Beach and then to Whitehaven. To all intents and purposes, the whale was played out as a real beached whale, and real marine mammal vets came alongside the Captain Boomer collective. Not only was the engagement harder to reach groups, but news about it went viral and across the world. We'll never forget the comments, particularly of two boys aged 10 and 8 who revisited the site throughout the whale's stay, and they said, in our lives, we will never ever forget this. Thanks, Amy. I'm going to move on to our next project, which is a competition in Hartlepool called Get Shirty. Hartlepool has been identified as the 5th worst place for women to live. So we're running a competition to design an iconic new kit for the Hartlepool Rovers Ladies Rugby Football Club. Not only are we getting behind the need to support the trajectory of raising the profile of women in sport, but we're also addressing the creative opportunity and need to style women for peak performance. There is a £2,000 prize fund. £1,000 goes to the winner, and the other £1,000 to support a female sports team of their choice, the winner's choice. We're really excited to have some great judges, one of whom is Garnet McKinder, who stands on Rugby England Diversity and Inclusion Board. She's got a massive enthusiasm for the project, and once the judges select the 4 finalists, it will go to a public vote. So we're really excited to put it to the fact that the public will choose the winner. Yeah, so I'll share that competition with you as well. Please feel free to enter. Anyone of any age can enter it. Put it on your social, share it to anyone. It's just fun. We've tried to make it as easy as possible so that you can do it in any way you choose. And actually, you don't have to be an artist. You can just come up with a good idea and just translate that onto the kit. So we're really keen and excited to see what people will come up with. Moving on, so we also wanted, as part of the 66, having identified that We want to encourage the active, digital and sustainable and green. That we had an opportunity to work with the world-class Brighton-based Blast Theory, and they're bringing a project called Rider Spoke to 3 locations, starting on the 12th to the 14th of April at the Theatre by the Lake in Keswick. And then moving on the following weekend, Darlington to South Park, and then the weekend thereafter to the Palace Hub in Medcar. So Rider Spoke is, it's a bike ride with a difference. It's like theatre on a bike. It's a bike ride like you will never have had before. You don't have to do it on a bike. So if there are, for inclusion purposes, it can be done in a wheelchair. We've actually got an assisted mobility. I don't know whether that's the right term, is scooter. Not sure what the term is, but we've been sponsored by Northern Renewables. So we've got 20 sponsored bikes, but we've also got disability access as well. So yeah, so the idea is that with a smartphone attached to your handlebars, you ride your own route. So you follow whatever route you choose, and you follow prompts from the app, which is mounted on your handlebar. That's all done for you. So and you're drawn not only to share your story, so your voice is recorded, you have a little earpiece in your one ear, and you share with other stories too. It's a completely immersive experience, and across the 28 cities where the work has been shown, it's been really astonishing to see what people have shared. Sometimes shocking, sometimes funny, sometimes intimate and very personal. But yeah, I can share a link with that, and you can take a look at the website to book, Eden Arts website to book that. Then in Middlesbrough, we're really excited to be working with an international group of artists called NCNC, which is a Nouveau Cinema. So I think I might need Aldo or somebody here to pronounce it anyway, NCNC. So they're going to work on a project with communities in Middlesbrough. Not only will the outcome be to animate the town of Middlesbrough, and the Middlesbrough Council have been massively supportive of the whole project, but perhaps it will develop new ways of understanding across the town. So we could, which could stand out for some time. We're very excited to see the results of that, and they'll probably result in 5 or 6 performances as a culmination of the project, which will be promenade style performances of a filmic quality or photographic quality, with the communities that have been worked with taking part as a part of the performance of the project. And then in the pipeline, always projects in the pipeline, but as part of the 66, we're developing Epona, which there are permissions and plans in place to draw a stone wall sculpted fell pony native to Cumbria in the landscape across T-Bay Gorge. So it'll be exciting. Watch this space, because we're working with communities on the development of the idea, so we can tell you more about that. Then finally,
sorry, Abby, I was just going to say we'll give a couple more minutes, and then I'll just very quickly sum up the Connectors trip. Thank you.
So I'm finally come to the Connectors trip, which I'll just explain the idea behind it. So it was developed as part of the 66, because to develop progression, ambition and progression, it helps if we can hear experts talking at the top of their game, experience prize-winning art, and find out about models of practice, pilot projects, and internationally award-winning cultural organisations. So I'll leave it at that, Amy.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you. That was a really good sum up of the whole project, because it's obviously quite a wide range and varied project with a lot of different bits to it. But for me, kind of coming in, you know, I do you know, keep up with Eden Arts, with what they're doing, but I'd not really connected with them too much before. So it was really, really good to get a chance to go on this trip. And basically there was delegates there from Cumbria and from, you know, all across the A66, as we said. And I'm just going to try and read out some of the places we went because I'll forget. So during the trip, we visited Tate Liverpool, Fact at Liverpool, Does Liverpool, which is a kind of co-working and sort of 3D printing and really exciting workspace. Then we visited the beautiful Coalescence, which was an installation at the Anglican Cathedral in Liverpool, which was just fabulous, superb to see. The next day in Manchester, we went to visit Walk the Plank Art, and we went to Castlefield Viaduct, which is a new initiative run by a National Trust. And then we went to Home Manchester. So it was very, very busy. It was just wonderful to go to all those different places with all these delegates in tow. And each place we went to, we had, you know, a little brief talk from somebody there, either about, you know, the artwork that we were seeing and kind of more generally. And the delegates were a mix of, you know, individual artists, freelancers, people from councils, people from companies running their own, you know, companies. So it was just so good to get that group of people together. And obviously during the time we had a bit of a chance to talk to each other, we could compare notes about the region. And, you know, I just kind of can't really say how good, and we know from this call what powerful networking is. It's just, it's very difficult to communicate that sometimes to funders and to other people. Think, oh, well, you know, it might not be that. How do you know what's going to come out of that? You know, it could be that in a year's time, two people who met on that trip might do a project together or might be helping each other in some way. So yeah, not much more from me on that, just other than I think it's a really positive initiative. And I'm sure a lot
How
of
did it make you feel,
stuff will come out of it.
How did it make you feel?
I think just very inspired, and it, again, you know, it's similar to these calls. I think when you live in a more rural county, it's difficult. You can be in isolation. It's very difficult to know what other people are doing. And sometimes you would feel a bit out on your own. So it was really nice to widen that up to the northeast region, that to go down to Liverpool and Manchester, which are obviously so busy and cultural. Our culture is not going to be the same as that, because you can just walk out your door and go to 10 different places, but it's still interesting to take what we can from that and realize why some of the reasons why we can't have that here, you know, such as transport, travel, and the location. But yeah, just it was very, very positive from my point of view. And yeah, just everyone take a look at the Eden Arts website, and I think Abby will pop that in the chat.
Excellent. Okay,
yeah, that's about it.
That sounds inspiring, and
yeah,
and lots of interesting stuff that you're doing at Eden Arts, Abby. And I see in chat that there's some Epona, have I said that right? And,
Yes.
and information about
Yeah.
fell ponies from Sue there, which is really useful and interesting to see as well.
Yeah.
It's really exciting what you're trying to do at the T-Bay Gorge. So good luck with that, and thanks for giving us an insight into what else is going on with Eden Arts.
Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome.
And you know, great that you enjoyed it, Amy. Great that it was inspiring, and no doubt it was an opportunity to meet others along that weekend as well.
Definitely,
Lovely.
yeah.
Okay, lovely stuff. Thanks ever so much, and good luck with the progress on all of those projects as well. Right, let's cross. So speaking of, you know, frustrations or barriers to progress in Cumbria, Rachel Vlodachak, that's the cockermouth way of describing it, your surname, is here from, as I said, she's day job as BAE on secondment to the LEP and working on this futures campaign. So Rachel, the floor is yours. I'll get your slides up to tell us a bit more about that.
Great, thank you, Tom. Thanks, everybody. Really great to be here. Yeah, so I'm, like Tom mentioned, I'm kind of 16 years at BAE Systems. An opportunity came up to do a secondment with the Cumbria LEP to kind of step outside of the BAE bubble for a period of time, which I'm absolutely loving. My role at the Cumbria LEP is to focus on labour supply, basically, for Cumbria. We are in a fortunate position that we do have more jobs than people. So there's lots of challenges that come with that. So, you know, we've got an ageing workforce. We've got a lot of apprenticeships that are competing across the county. So we need to look outside the box really at what we're doing, and an example of doing that is to campaign and really promote our offering in terms of why Cumbria is a great place to live and work, and also, you know, thinking about how we can attract people from outside of the area into Cumbria. So I'm going to take you through some slides now, which is around our Futures campaign. Are you sharing them, Tom?
Yeah, so Amy, if you could share the slides, that would be great with sound on for the last one.
Thank you. So the Futures campaign isn't new, it's been around before my time, so this is a relaunch of it really. And I guess if you just go to slide 2 please, Amy, the whole spirit of the Futures campaign is to, as I said, really promote our opportunities within Cumbria and promote people to come and live and work in Cumbria from outside the county. So there's 2 strands for the Futures campaigns. There's Our Future, which is focused on promoting Cumbria's careers and job opportunities to our own young people. So for that, we've mainly been looking at apprentices and asking apprentices to really promote what they're doing and, you know, encourage them as a formal route and an attractive route. However, with Our Future, you know, it's not just about apprentices. We understand that not everybody goes into an apprenticeship, and that's absolutely fine. So we would like to also promote other career opportunities that some of our more inexperienced people can talk about. And then in addition to that, there's Your Future. So this is about showcasing and case studying examples of where people have successfully relocated to the county to come and live and or work here. So what we'd like to do is really be diverse. We'd like to include all sectors in this. We'd just like to go for it really. So I guess the reason why I'm here today is to tell you about it, to let you know it's happening, but also a bit of an ask really to say if you were an example of any of those categories, or if you know anybody within your networks or your organisations that you feel would be a good case study for us to use. It's horrible calling somebody a case study, but you know what I mean, hopefully. Then please do get in touch with me. As I said, we would like to be, you know, as equal and diverse and inclusive as possible through this, and encourage volunteers from every background and every sector and geography. So if you do know of anybody, that would be great. I guess I'm going to show you in a moment some examples of what we've done in the Furness area. So with the Our Future strand of it, I have focused on Furness first because Barrow has the highest level of unemployed 18 to 24-year-olds in the county. So we've kind of done a call to action for that area to kind of pilot it in that area first, but we will be doing it across the county. So rest assured, you know, it will be covering different areas. So if I just take you through to the material, and then I'll explain to you kind of what the ask is of some of the individuals. So these are some of the examples, just some of the examples of the material that's been produced so far. And as I say, this is for the Furness area. So you'll recognise a lot of the employer branding on there. And the aspiration really is to, as I said, you know, be really diverse with this, include smaller businesses as well as some of the big names, to really try and promote everything that we offer in Cumbria, not just focus on the bigger companies all of the time. So the poster on the left, that's actually on a billboard in Barrow at the moment. And then the poster on the right, that's an example of individual case studies that are going to be rolled out from next week on the LEP social media platforms. And then with the aspiration that people will reshare and it'll get broader and broader. The so what to it, so I guess, you know, it's all right having these posters, but what's the so what? There is a QR code there. And what we hope to do is that on the LEP website, we'll create like a hub of information around, you know, how you find out about opportunities. There might be things around the Your Future campaign on there as well. And then also in addition, there is going to be a Places campaign. That's kind of the third phase, which will promote, you know, more about the area rather than the people and the jobs. But I guess phase 1 and 2 is Our Future, Your Future, and then Places third. So that's the so what, I guess. And obviously it gets people's brands out there as well, which is fantastic. So I've put a video on there. I'm hoping it'll work, but I know what Zoom can be like. So It's not a good start because it's, oh, there it is. I was wondering if you'd be able to just play that, please, Amy, and just enlarge it if it allows.
It doesn't
This
look
is
like
really
it's playing.
slow.
It doesn't
We
look
can
like it's
send-
playing
we-
ball at the moment, I'm afraid.
No problem. We can send the slides out, or I can send you the link to where it's going to be. But basically, that video was a video of a case study of an individual that works for Ofsted. And we asked every individual that we photographed, we also did a video of, and we asked them questions, consistent questions such as, you know, tell us about what you do, tell us about why you like it, what advice would you give to anybody considering your career, and why do you like living and working in Cumbria? So it really is an excellent opportunity to promote your sectors if you can think of anybody that you would like to be involved. So yeah, I guess if you are going to engage anybody around this, or if you indeed are interested yourselves, I guess the role on the day would be, you know, turn up. We do ask that it's done in your workplace or somewhere similar to your working environment, so it's got full effect and impact on the video and the photos. Be prepared to answer a few questions on the video around your own personal story, and that's nothing formal, that's quite relaxed, and it should be really authentic to you. But we've put the questions in place just to try and, you know, focus people a little bit. And then just be prepared that it will be promoted and you will be out there, which is fantastic. So it will be on social media platforms, but also on more traditional advertising platforms across the county. The aspiration with the Your Futures campaign is that it is also advertised outside the county. We are going to start with advertising it in the county, but in high tourist areas, so that we're attracting people that are coming from outside for the holiday, and then, you know, hopefully we'll go wider than Cumbria with the promotion of that, and of course social media will naturally do that anyway. So I guess that's the expectations if you would like to take part, or if you're thinking of anybody that may be up for it. As I say, it's a great opportunity to promote everybody. We'd like to be inclusive with this. And then I think that's everything really.
That's great, Rachel. So,
yeah,
so just to be clear, this is not just about attracting young people to the county. It's about telling the stories of people that have perhaps moved here mid-career or whatever, and want to extol the virtues of Cumbria. Yeah, absolutely. It's to share inspirational stories that are personal to people, that can, you know, relate to others. Certainly, if I, you know, talk from like a BAE perspective, we have a lot of people interested in our roles that come from away, and then of course the family are interested as well. But the family might not be interested in BAE systems, so it's about saying what's the full offering across the county, as to how we can attract. So it's a really good opportunity. Okay, well, thank you very much. Has anybody got any questions? Yeah, has anyone got any questions they want to pick up with Rachel?
Can we have Rachel's contact details in the chat? That would be
Yeah, if you
certainly,
stick those
useful.
I've
put my email address at the start of the chat. Yeah, okay.
And when might we start to see, you know, the output of this campaign, Rachel? Is that sort of imminent or? Yeah, so it's, as I say, it started for Furness. We are doing a day of case studies on the 28th of March. So, and that's in the Carlisle area. So I guess, you know, it's that we work with an external media company on this called Marek. And Marek do, you know, make it look pretty and edit the video in a very professional manner. And then as soon as they've done their work, it's a case of just launching it in like a drip feeding way. Okay, great. All right. Well, that's great. Thank you. Stick your contacts in there, Rachel.
Yeah, we'll drop my number in as well.
It's good to have you, you know, in on this network as well. So hopefully that we'll stay in contact and do some more business in the future as well. How long are you at the LEP for?
So my contract is scheduled to end in August 2024.
All right, so sometime then. Okay.
Yeah.
Smashing.
Thank you.
Right. Thanks ever so much. Right. Well, let's go from I always try and make links somehow, tenuously, these may be, but I'm thinking, you know, if that was about trying to get people to come into Cumbria and understand why it's a great place to be, perhaps Helping Hands is about trying to help people who wouldn't necessarily think of volunteering initially to think about volunteering in Cumbria in all sorts of different organisations. So just to remind you, this is a big pan-county Arts Council funded £500,000, I think, thing. Kate's going to kick off because it was her idea and she got it off the ground initially. There's a number of people on this call who then are going to chip in. So Kate, I won't steal your thunder. Over to you.
You won't steal my thunder. I think you just did, but that's okay. Okay, so for those of you who I haven't met, and I think I do know most of you, I'm chair of Cumbria Arts and Culture Network. That's something I do on a voluntary basis. My day job is as head of partnership for Cumbria Museum Consortium. Cumbria Museum Consortium is a partnership between Lakeland Arts, Wordsworth Grasmere and Tully House Museum in Carlisle. So it's those three organisations are funded together by Arts Council. A year or so ago, just in the early part of last year, a large pot of money became available from the DCMS and Arts Council called Volunteering Futures. It's a big sort of £5 million pot. And it's about helping get more people into volunteering across the country. Lots of the organisations in Cumbria thought about applying, but the deadline was kind of, you've got a fortnight to turn around this application, as is often the way. So we decided collectively that we would put in a joint application across Cumbria. And the result of that is £500,000 worth of funding for a project called Helping Hands. So that is probably the biggest piece of collaboration that's going on across the culture sector at the moment. And we're here today to tell you more about it. We're at the halfway point. So it feels appropriate to kind of to check in. Cumbria Arts and Culture Network is actually a partner in the project. So the job of the network is to help sort of communicate what's going on about the project. So that's where we are. Okay, we just stop there with the presentation. That's marvellous. So Helping Hands is about.
Sorry, Kate, it's actually
mind of its own.
it's moving, literally moving on its own there. So I'll try and keep control of it as much as I can.
So Helping Hands is about encouraging more people to volunteer in cultural organisations across the county. It involves 40 plus organisations, around 25 cultural organisations, so theatres, museums, art centres and arts organisations, and heritage organisations as well, some of whom are here today, and thank you for that. But also community partners whose job it is to help us reach out to people who haven't normally had the opportunity to volunteer in the past for whatever reason. And there are a whole range of reasons why people don't or can't volunteer. So this project is about breaking down barriers to volunteering and helping more people through the door to not just start volunteering, but stay volunteering. What we'll do this morning is just really explain a little bit about the progress, the challenges and the complexities, because it's absolutely fair to say that this is a really complicated and challenging project to work with this many partners and keep everybody kind of moving forward and to keep track of what we said we would do and make a difference to all those organisations and people is difficult. So we'll tell you a little bit about that and some of the successes as well. I'm going to introduce you first of all to Janet, who is the project manager who's based at Tully House, whose job it is to keep all of this under control. And then after that, you'll hear from a couple of our inclusive volunteering leads who are based around the county, working in clusters of cultural organisations. And then we'll go to Katie, who is our data coordinator, who will show you our data dashboard, which is in itself a thing of great beauty. And then we'll finish up with Janet again, just to say a word or two about how you can help. So over to you, Janet, our project manager.
Thanks, Kate. Hello, everybody. Yes, I'm Janet. I started working with Helping Hands in October last year as an inclusive volunteering lead and stepped up to be project manager in January of this year. And as Kate's alluded to, it's quite a vast and complex project working with a diverse range of partners, from the large national charities like the National Trust and English Heritage, all the way down to smaller practitioner-led organisations in arts and culture. And then we have a lot of community partners as well, who are charities working with people with different characteristics, where we are seeking advice and help in how to support people from diverse backgrounds. So where we are, where have we got to? In the last few months, we've got a team of 5 inclusive volunteering leads, and we have 2 of them here today. We are working across the county in specific clusters to so we can understand the needs and constraints of the organisations that we're working with, and also to get that local knowledge to help us when we're recruiting volunteers into those settings. We set up quite a lot of systems to help us do that. So ways to how to record what the roles are accurately, so we can promote them, so that we can advocate on behalf of the organisation and get the right people into those roles. A lot of it has been around data collection, because as Kate said, this is Arts Council and they need numbers, they like numbers. So I'm really pleased that Katie's here to share some of the results of that data collection, but we had to set systems up to do that in the first place. And we had to do that in a way that didn't cause barriers for people wanting to volunteer, or the organisations that we're working with as well. And we want to make it as smooth and as streamlined as possible. So the emphasis of the project, having worked with a lot of cultural organisations in the first few months, is now shifting more to working in the communities to recruit volunteers. So that's around engaging people and supporting them to apply for the roles. And as Kate says, our aim is to work with people who wouldn't necessarily think of volunteering in the Arts and Culture Network for whatever reason. We are there to help build confidence. We provide one-to-one support. We are about to launch some training programs as well to enable both organisations and individuals to improve their skills and their understanding of working with people from diverse backgrounds. We do have an access fund, which is there to help individuals and organisations remove some of those barriers to volunteering. Travel costs is an obvious one that we can help contribute to, but we are funding other things as well to help people come and volunteer. Tully, working with them on getting a ramp installed so that a person in a wheelchair can volunteer in exactly the same way as anybody else as a gallery engager. And I'm also in conversations with other organisations around things like hearing loops as well, to help people who have hearing loss come and contribute too. I'm going to hand over to Verity now, who's going to tell you a little bit about what's happening in Barrow, and then we'll hear from Jay and his role in the east of the county.
Cool, thanks, Janet. Amy, fab, thank you. Already on it. Yeah, so Janet's summarised what we're doing overall quite well, but Jay and I are here today to give a little taste of what's happening on the ground within our clusters. So I'm the Barrow lady. I represent South Cumbria, so Furness up to Coniston, and I've been in the role for about 6 months now. While, as Kate and Janet have spoken about, the project is older than we've been in post for, because there's I think a theme that's going to come up is there's a lot of background work. So for the last 6 months, I've been working with some fantastic organisations. I can see Jo from Artgene is on the call today, and she's one of the people I work with, one of our partners. And there's been lots of background work of setting up volunteer structures, in some cases management structures roughly from scratch, and working out with the members of staff at the organisations we're working with to work out ways that they can spread their capacity to actually manage these volunteers and get I've been working with CVS as well to get policies and procedures in place. And now, for the last month or so in Barrow, we're in a position where my organisations are ready for the most part, and we're in active live recruitment and getting volunteers. Now, I think this is probably, of course, the crux of the whole project, but also one of the places with the most challenges. I'm sure all of you will relate to volunteer recruitment in the arts is difficult. There are so many different barriers that we do need to get around. And the photos on the screen here are actually with when I ran a stall at Art Jean's Eco Fair a month or two ago, where I tried a new thing to try and make to bring a bit of colour and a bit of fun to the stall, and I found it was particularly useful for getting engaging families. So children would take part in this activity where I had these little conversation prompts to start talking about what benefits people might have, people might find in volunteering. And it was really great for engaging people and talking to people. And I was there with my colleague Abby, and we had a very chatty day that was lots of people coming up to us and talking to us. And in part, that's absolutely credit to Art Jean and the success of their fair. But I thought I'd mention it today because on the one hand, it was fantastic for actually getting people talking to us. But for example, if 1,000 people were to walk through the door, maybe 50 people would sign up to our mailing list. I would then follow up with emails, and maybe 2 or 3 people would reply to those emails. And then of those 2 or 3 people, kind of, here's hoping that we may be able to place them into a role. And I think that those hypothetical numbers probably give a good taste of actually we're still in the process of finding a hook and finding a way of meeting people's needs and finding, we're confident that once people are in a placement, we have ways to make it a positive experience, but actually onboarding these people, I think, is where my mind is ticking away a lot at the moment. But I'll pass on to Jay, and you can hear some of his insights as well.
Hi, good morning all. So I thought the best way I could sort of illustrate how the process of what we do is to give you a quick example. So a lovely lady, Amanda, contacted the Helping Hands website. She'd been told about the project by a friend who'd seen it on social media. And so because she lived in Penrith, her details passed to me, and I called her up, arranged to meet for a cup of tea and a chat in a cafe in Penrith. At the meeting, I got to know a bit about her, what she wanted to get out of volunteering, why she sort of thought it might be an interesting thing. She had a background in arts and heritage, but hadn't been involved for a long time, family and all that sort of stuff around work and jobs and life. But she felt she wanted to get back into it, but she didn't quite know how. So because we have these really great relationships with our partners, the organisations, I was able to sort of pick out a couple of examples of things that she might really fit in well with. And they weren't exactly on her doorstep because they were both in Carlisle, but it was quite accessible for her. She had her own transport. So I got in touch with the organisations, had a chat with my contacts there, and we arranged a date where she could go and meet them both, and I could go along. She absolutely loved it. She got really excited about the whole thing. And by the end of the morning, she'd signed up to volunteer with 2 organisations. And she's now on the team at Tully as a family craft support when they do their school holidays and weekend sessions. So it fits around her life. And also she volunteers with Prism Arts, where she's an artist facilitator with their regular group. And the images there were from yesterday, and that was Amanda in the red and black top there, absolutely loving her time there with a great bunch of people at Prism Arts and supporting them. And she's getting what she feels she wants out of it. And we're just trialing some feedback forms. And so I thought it would be a good opportunity yesterday to just trial it with her. And she's given me permission to share it today. And a couple of the questions. So one was, can you tell us more about any benefits you've experienced from volunteering? And her response was reconnecting with organisations and activities that I trained and worked on in the past, building my confidence in re-entering employment in that field, and networking and learning new skills and inspiring new ideas. And then the other question that I thought was really great was, do you have any comments or suggestions about how we can improve the experience of volunteering or the wider Helping Hands programme? And this is a buzz for me because I get a plug in it. No, it's been fantastic. Jay's been incredibly supportive and helpful, been a constant presence through this experience, and I've known I could rely on him for any support. It was very beneficial to have Helping Hands support, especially on the initial contact with the organisations, and to know that through Jay and the website, these organisations were actively looking for volunteers rather than me cold calling. It's been fantastic, thank you. And I think that's the thing, that's what we can do. We can see these people who may be a bit hesitant about going into volunteering, not quite sure what they want to do. And because we know the organisations we work with, we can pick out those good fits for them. And I think that's, where our value is. But anyway, that's enough waffle from me. I'll pass you over to the lovely Katie, who's got a much more artistic presence with her data dashboard.
Hi everyone, I'm Katie. I'm responsible for data collection for the project. So this is our project data dashboard, and it was created using Google Looker Studio. Amy, if you could please click here on the URL, that should take you through to the dashboard.
I'm just going to stop sharing and restart sharing because I think the computer wasn't too keen on that, but feel free to keep talking.
No worries. So this dashboard was created to kind of track progress against targets and drive home the impact of the project to date. So I'm just going to briefly talk you through the board. So over in the left-hand corner here, we've got our headline stats. So you can see that we've recruited 131 volunteers to date, and this number is rising day by day. Of that, a little less than 50% are brand new to volunteering, which was one of our key aims for the project. Underneath that, we've got the number of live volunteer roles currently on our website, which is 74, again, growing each week. If we move over onto the right-hand side here, one of the questions that we ask volunteers as part of our registration form is their employment status. So you can see it's really mixed between kind of individuals who are unemployed, students, and those who are retired and employed part-time. So it's been great to see kind of a varied response to that. Underneath there, we've got our diversity targets. The project has 5 key audiences that we're hoping to engage. Those are young people, so individuals aged 16 to 24. And you can see that we've pretty much nearly hit our target for that, and we will be revising these targets over the next 6 months. We created the targets ourselves using the 2021 census data in order to set representative targets for each geographical area the project covers. Next up, we've got neurodiverse individuals, which we're doing okay on. Then we've got Black, Brown and minoritized people, individuals with a disability and health condition. And our 5th group is people from a low socioeconomic background. Underneath that, one of the other questions we ask our volunteers is how they heard about the project. You can see the majority, over 50%, came to us via another organisation, usually one of our cultural delivery partners. And most of that 56% is actually Tully House. Other areas where they've heard about the project include events. Our inclusive volunteer leads have been out and about across Cumbria. Small subsection of unknowns there. Yeah, so we hope to see this change actually as the project progresses and we amp up our digital advertising. Next to that, we've got our postcode analysis. So one of the things we do is we take our volunteer postcodes and we map those against the multiple indices of deprivation. Again, this is to help us track individuals from a low socioeconomic background. You can actually open that map up and zoom in and see, you'll be able to see that most of the volunteers we've recruited to date are from Carlisle and along the West Coast. We're starting to see individuals now from Kendal and Barrow, and we've got one volunteer who's from Newcastle. So yeah, really mixed picture there. And if you scroll back up to the top of the dashboard, we can actually narrow it down by cluster. So if you click on cluster in the top right-hand corner, if you click on West, you can see how the picture is different at each organisation. Oh, if you just click off that, there you go, it should change. So one of the things that we'll be keeping an eye on over the next few months and year as the project progresses is the differing picture across Cumbria. And that's it from me.
Great, thanks, Katie. So that gives you a flavour of where we are now against our targets. And as you can imagine, there are a few challenges to getting where we are at the moment. One of them will probably not surprise you, and that's the actual volunteer recruitment itself. From a rural area, an area we've got high second home ownership as well. But we all know that. We've just heard from the LEP as well around apprenticeships and all sorts of work related ones as well. But one of the other challenges is around balancing and managing expectations, particularly within the cultural organisations themselves. Their capacity to support and manage volunteers is extremely varied and causes it doesn't cause us a problem, but what it means is the IVLs, the Inclusive Volunteering Leads, has been spending a lot of time getting to know the organisations in their cluster, getting to know what their needs are and what their capacity is, and trying to give a realistic steer to what's possible for and with them. And part of that balance is also the availability of people in that area to volunteer, and being out and about in the community, working with people from diverse backgrounds and matching them up, as Jay's described there, with organisations, but making sure the organisations have the right support processes in place, which again is where the Access Fund comes in, which is what I mentioned earlier. The biggest challenge really is the fact that it is a very complex county-wide project. We have over 45 partners from cultural backgrounds, but also from the community. And communicating with all of those organisations and keeping them all up to speed and up to date is quite a task within itself. We do have a website up and running now, which, as we've mentioned, promotes all these roles. It also has various other bits of information on there as well, and our social media platforms are up and running. So my request really is for all of you as part of the network to help us by liking, sharing and commenting on our social media feeds. That would be really, really appreciated. I think that's it.
Okay.
From me. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Janet. Kate, just to pick up, I mean, there's some challenges that Janet's come up with there. Anything else to add to the mix? Is it going the way you thought it might?
Yes, it is. I suppose it's like driving a massive oil tanker and trying to turn it round. It doesn't happen quickly. The progress is really good, and it's starting in terms of the numbers of volunteers that we're accessing. You know, it's really steeply upwards, the curve now. I think there are all sorts of sort of contextual challenges. It's, Cumbria is about to split itself in two, and this is a Cumbria-wide project. So there's all that sort of local, reorganisation that we've got to contend with. I think the sheer pressure on organisations to focus on, sustainability, keeping the doors open, coping with really, really tight capacity, all of those things make it complicated, but that's absolutely common right across all of the organisations, including the ones I work for. And the thing that I would just pick out and finish by saying is that some of the barriers that we're encountering are much easier to break down than others. And if you can cast your mind back to the dashboard, you'll see that in terms of recruiting more people who are Black, brown and minoritised, the progress is slow there. So we've got much more work to do there. One of our partners is Anti-Racist Cumbria, who are being brilliant But you know, those are some really significant barriers that we've got to do more to break down, and it is one of our major focuses. So yeah, I mean, there are loads of successes. I mean, you've heard about a few today, but you know, there's no bones about it. It's a complicated project and some in a complicated context.
Okay.
I'm really grateful to the partners who are here for being here today, but also for being part of this project and you know, for their patience and support.
Great. Okay. It's a complicated thing, collaboration, isn't it? But it's a really good example of well planned and well thought through, and with some longevity to it. It's got a fighting chance of success. And by the way, brilliant example of a data dashboard, a visual data dashboard. Congratulations, Katie, on pulling all that together. I envy your skills, and I'd like you to teach me, please. Right, it's 10:29. It's time to say thank you to lots of people this morning. By the way, next week, Aldo Rinaldi, who's on this call, who's the man in charge of Deep Time, the big West Cumbrian project, public art project, is going to tell us where that is at. There's some talks coming up as well. I know Amy's put some details in chat, and also the big public art piece has been selected as well. So we'll hear more about that next week. Thanks to Abby, to Amy, to Rachel, to Katie, to Janet, to Jay, to Verity, and to Kate for all your inputs today. We're here to champion the arts and the cultural sector. We're here to network people, to collaborate, and kind of shout about the sector a bit as well. You know, as Kate said, the government reorganisation, which kicks in on April the 1st, there's an opportunity there. It's also a challenge. So I think we need to keep networking and speaking with one voice as loudly as we possibly can. And this is just one way to do it. So do stay engaged. If you haven't signed up to the newsletter, go to the big yellow box on the CACN website, and that's a chance to do that as well. But thank you everybody for your time this morning. I'm off to Ewanrig this evening at Maryport to see Beneath the Banner, which is an Arts Out West and highlights production. So I'm looking forward to that. I hope you have some lovely cultural things ahead for yourselves as well. And hopefully we'll all see each other again this time next week. Thank you, everybody, and goodbye.